Sorry, get my mic on. Good evening. Welcome to today's school board hearing regarding the proposed 2025 millage rate. This hearing provides an important opportunity for community members to share their perspectives and insights, and we are here to listen, learn, and work together to make informed decisions that will benefit our school district. The 2026 original budget tentatively reflects a 17.675 maintenance and operations millage rate. It's important to note that because our school district funds debt service, including the principal and interest on our outstanding bonds, through an education special purpose local option sales tax, ESPLOS, the 2026 original budget does not include a bond millage rate. This hearing is one of 3 public hearings mandated by Georgia law before the Paulding County Board of Education can finalize the millage rate and adopt the fiscal year 2026 budget. We will begin with a short presentation on the proposed 2025 millage rate, followed by an overview of the hearing's procedures and guidelines, and then afterwards we will invite participants to the podium to share their observations and feedback. I would like to invite Ms. Amber Thesba to the podium to give us the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. So I cheated, Ms. Thesba, and stuck a slide in front of your presentation.
Yes. Can we do that? Slide we missed this morning.
Oh, yeah.
Music, video. Oh, there's Adam getting a pie.
Yeah, there it is.
That's done so bad after that.
Thank you. That's a short video about why we are here, why we do what we do. So now, Ms. Amber.
So yeah, of course, Amber Thesba is our Director of Financial Planning and Analysis, and I cheated and I put a slide in front of her presentation just based on a conversation this morning. Sorry, I'll just mention it real quick and then I promise I'll shut up, Amber, won't say anything. But the notice of property tax increase there is on the screen. That is what we published. And as we noted this morning, the specific language is required by Georgia law. So we have zero ability to modify that, and we've tried. It's just not possible. So, but I think the reason why it's so confusing is because it's written from a perspective, almost a hypothetical, that our current millage rate is 17,178. So you have to come almost imagine that that's the world you live in, and then it starts to make sense. And so it's very confusing. And so like that first sentence there that says, the Paulding County Board of Education has tentatively proposed its 2025 millage rate, which will require an increase in property taxes by 2.9%. Well, that might make sense if you're coming at it from an imaginary perspective that we're at 17.178. Not 17.675. So I put at the bottom, I think a more accurate way, and one that we've argued that it would be better to word it this way, would be that the Paulding County Board of Education has tentatively proposed a 2025 millage rate of 17.675, the same rate as in 2024. This proposed rate would result in a 2.9% increase in property taxes over a rollback rate of 17.178, which would eliminate the impact of 2025 property tax reassessments. That's a more realistic description than really what we have to put in the paper. The only way you'd understand what's in the paper is if you knew enough to know, I'm going to now read this as if I live in a world where the current millage rate is 17.178, which is a number they don't even know. So it's it's very frustrating. It's frustrating every single year, and we'll keep petitioning to change the language. But anyway, I thought that might be interesting, and maybe it was just good for me to vent. I don't know. But anyway, Amber, thank you for your patience.
Right. Good evening. This is our second of our 3 public hearings on the millage rate. And again, this is part of our budget approval process. First, I wanted to give a little bit of a millage rate overview. First, with the Paulding County roles and responsibilities. As you may have already received, assessment notices were mailed on May 30th. When you get the tax bill, the property values are determined by market trends and are set by the Paulding County Board of Tax Assessors. If you have questions or concerns about the assessed value of your property, please contact the Board of Tax Assessors, and they have an appeals process that runs through July 14th. The tax assessment notices reflect the 2024 property ad valorem millage rate, and the Paulding County Tax Commissioners produced the official digest in either late July or early August. And the Paulding County Board of Commissioners will approve millage rates in early August. Now I would like to review the piece that the Board of Education is responsible for on the tax bill. The Board of Education sets the millage rate for the ad valorem property tax, which is a percentage that is applied to the assessed property value, and the Board of Commissioners then approve the millage rate. Property taxes are the primary source of local funding for the school district, and as Ms. Collette stated, the M&O millage rate of 17.675 is the same as the prior year and was utilized in our advertisements and our tentative FY26 budget. And we maintained a no bond millage rate. Bonds are paid with eSplost, but if we did have a bond millage rate, it would need to be approximately 1.257 to meet our FY26 debt service requirements. Looking at the net M&O digest, it is projected to increase 4.1% to $8.8 billion. Of that increase, only 2.5% was due to real property reassessments. And our exemptions grew 9.5% to $2 billion of the gross digest, or 19%. 19% is the highest percentage of the gross digest to be exempted in 20-plus years. Moving into enrollment growth in our millage rate history. Another piece we want to reiterate is that we are the 15th fastest growing school district in Georgia, and we have to balance against a constitutional and federal mandate to provide an adequate public education for our citizens, and that is provided by the general taxation rather than tuition. And as we've touched on in previous presentations to the board, we rank the highest in residential digest percentage among the large districts, while being the lowest in non-residential digest percentage. But that is also while we're still maintaining a comparable millage rate to the average. We have lowered the millage rate 3 times in the past 5 years, and this is the lowest millage rate in 18 years while maintaining a 0 bond millage rate. In the chart to the right, we have provided a view of our neighboring school districts, and only one is lower than us, which is Bartow. However, back on this chart, they are the third largest in non-residential digest at 53%, and their $0.25 difference from us only equates to $8 a month in savings. Then looking at our local revenue per pupil, as of 2024, we were 23% lower than the statewide average, resulting in a $47.6 million deficit. And prior to the Great Recession, the deficit was 25%. This is significant given that approximately 1/3 of our district's revenues comes from local sources. And then when you look at our revenue per pupil, we collect 77 cents for every dollar in local revenue collected per student compared to the statewide average. Even when considering the state funds, federal funds, and equalization that are specifically designed to even the playing field, we still only collect 90 cents for every dollar in total revenue. Then when you look at our SPLOST collections, we collect only 55 cents for every dollar. That is compared to our neighboring school districts. The real impact of not having a bond millage rate is that we only have 36 cents to every dollar, which is a 35% reduction. Just to summarize, we remain one of the largest, fastest growing, and low wealth school districts in Georgia. And despite these challenges, we do maximize our limited resources to provide the best education for our students. We rank the highest in residential digest, but lowest in non-residential. And we also maintain a comparable millage rate to the state average. Looking at state average, we are 23% lower in local revenue per pupil, which equates to a deficit of $47.6 million, and we only collect 77 cents for every dollar in local revenue compared to the statewide average. If we had the rollback rate of 17.178 mils, that would be a decrease of $4.4 million in revenue to our district. We did want to draw attention for the public to our video on our website that Jay Dillon and the Communications Department have put together, and it provides an understanding of how we develop our budget and the unique challenges we face. And this video can be found on our main webpage. And then just remember, if you have any concerns about the assessed value of your property, we ask that you please contact the Board of Tax Assessors. And again, their appeals process goes through July 14th.
Thank you, Amber.
Thank you.
I will tell y'all one other fun fact I looked up today. If you go back 35 years to the year 1990, the board's millage rate, we had a bond and a maintenance and operation millage rate, was 18.6. We are almost 1 mil lower in the millage rate than we were 30 years ago, which is why that advertisement is so frustrating, because the board has gone over decades, worked really hard to maintain a millage rate, and it's really been more of a value story. So when the values drop, this board did not raise that millage rate. It went down in value like everyone else did, and it's kind of climbed out. So we've been very consistent, the board, I believe, with the millage rate, which is totally counterintuitive to how you have to advertise these meetings. But
And concurrent with this morning, we are not voting to raise the millage rate this year at all. It will stay where it was last year. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that. If there is a property tax increase somewhere, it's because the value of the property went up, not because we raised the millage rate.
Good evening. The procedures and guidelines for today's hearings are defined by Board Policy BCBI, Public Participation in Board Meetings, which includes rules of conduct for the meeting, public speakers, and attendees. Procedures include, but are not limited to, the following. Individuals desiring to appear before the board must first complete a sign-in sheet and affirmation. Speakers will be given up to 5 minutes to make their comments. Speakers should address the Board of Education as a whole, not individual board members. The board will not respond to comments or questions posed by citizens, but will take them under consideration. However, board members and/or the superintendent may ask questions or clarification. Speakers should speak into the microphone and be aware that their comments may be broadcast live, filmed, photographed, or recorded by the school district or other non-district media sources. Those unable to attend the hearing are encouraged to submit their written comments to the superintendent and the Board of Education through the Office of the Superintendent. Madam Chair, you can call forward your speakers.
All right. I just wanted to let everyone know, too, that we do have Jeff Fuller. He's not sitting in that seat, as you can well see, but he is on the phone with us tonight, so he will be able to hear our comments as well. Our first speaker is Chris Batchelor.
Mr. Batchelor, I'm going to be your timekeeper, so when you get to, we got 5 minutes, when you get to about the 4-minute mark, I'll let you know that you're getting close.
All right, I appreciate that. We've got about 4 different sections, so we're going to be fast. Boom, boom, boom. I appreciate the board offering this opportunity for us as citizens to come share with you. I appreciate the job that y'all do. A budget of almost $500 million is large and a lot of moving parts. Thinking about last year, the constitutional amendment was to try to hold taxes down for the homeowners, and I know y'all vote. That was a whole big ordeal. Anyway, I thought I remember the superintendent mentioned y'all were looking at something to try to hold that down for the homeowners. And I think recently we saw an article of the number of rental homes in Paulding County is just an exorbitant number. So maybe something to think about would be to put in a homestead exemption for the homeowners or residents. The taxes would go up on the rental units or if homes are bought or sold. And because I think there's a lot of transition. With rental homes, you got kids coming in, kids moving out. It's a lot of work in the office people, in the schools. My daughter-in-law teaches at Paulding, and I think they had almost 50 kids come in this half of the year. So just something to think about, maybe increase a homestead exemption for the residents. I noticed in the budget this year, the benefits were up $1.1 million, even though the number of employees went down. And I know this is, a lot of times we say, well, we can't do much about that. And I think about health insurance. My premiums for my wife and I are almost $22,000 a year for two people in their 50s. That's crazy. And y'all are paying these benefits on behalf of your employees because that's what the going rate is. But I encourage y'all to pool together with the state, with our representatives. They need to help solve that in Washington. So I know you're trying to cover your employees, but don't just say, well, that's the way we've always been doing it. Pull together. Let's try to figure out a way we can get the cost down. Now, I know my teachers are near and dear to my heart. A lot of these young teachers have kids. I know, I'm not quite sure why, but I think there's some pre-Ks in the school for the handicapped or the mentally challenged folks, but not for regular kids, and there's certainly no daycare. I know some businesses offer daycare for their employees. You've got a lot of young teachers with young families. I think about my daughter-in-law that's driving out of the way to drop her daughter off to school, and that adds a lot of time. I don't know if y'all have looked at adding pre-K maybe for teachers' kids or daycare, not a free service. I'm sure a lot of them would even pay for it. Maybe it's regional. I don't know what it is, but if you're looking at taking care of your employees, that's something to look at. We met with some of y'all last month and talked about the new school out for New Georgia and Union, and I don't know where all the discussion is on that, but I was thinking you're swapping land for Dallas Elementary. Dallas Elementary is really, really old too, and I'm sure you've got some plans to do something about it, but why give up all those acres right there in Dallas, which would be a great spot for a new hub Dallas Elementary School, for land out on the south side? You can buy some more land on the south side. I was talking later, and I think maybe the upgrades to Billy Bullock Road, maybe $2.5 million that the taxpayers are going to have to pay for y'all to put your school there. Y'all are getting a great deal on the land, but the taxpayers are going to be on the hook. I think Sandy Caker talked about y'all working together. There may be another piece of property that you may pay a little bit more money for, but the county may not have to spend $2 million on road improvements. Maybe Mulberry Rock or Buchanan Highway. The other thing I think I mentioned to Mr. Barnett was the option of sewer. Did you ever look to see if sewer was available to come to New Georgia Elementary? You may be able to add on there. It may be $1 million to bring sewer from, it's across the road at Publix or at the Georgian Resort. It may be cheaper to spend $1 million on that and continue to use the school that you have and add on than completely start over. So sometimes we got to get out of the box and think about things. That's the good thing about community. If you get a lot of input, you can get some ideas that you hadn't thought about before. You may even be able to run sewer over to Billy Bullock Road and use less than 50 acres. A lot of folks are upset about giving up 50 acres of parkland for the school. If you had sewer, you could use less land. If you use that site, maybe you could do a joint venture and allow some of that to still be parkland, because a lot of that is natural. You won't be able to build on. It may have septic field lines on. So,
Mr. Batchel, you're a little bit over 4 minutes right now.
okay, all right. I think that's about it. So anyway, I've touched on a couple of things there, and there's the teachers as well. I always hear they've got to buy a lot of supplies. I don't know how much money they get for supplies, but you've got a lot of young teachers. They're trying to fund their room, and somewhere in your budget, I don't know if there's somewhere you could cut, but give those young teachers, older seasoned teachers, a little bit more money to buy some construction paper. I mean, I see them buying, construction paper, all those things, stuff for in-class recess when it rains, all those areas. So I'm putting a plug in for some of my teacher friends. So thanks for what you guys do. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Petrol.
Do we have anybody else that has signed up? I'm just going to open it up. Anybody in the room who would like to speak? Hearing no other speakers. Thank you all for being here. I wanted to remind you that all concerned citizens are invited to our remaining public hearing, which will be held on June 17th at 8 a.m. here at the Paulding County Board of Education. For the record, 3236 Atlanta Highway, Dallas, Georgia. We'll be here next Tuesday at 8 a.m. At this point, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Nolan, a second by Mr. Clayton. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.